Welcome, NutritionRadio.org listeners. This is Lonnie Lowery, a university nutrition professor of over 20 years and podcast host of long-running shows like Iron Radio. Come on in.
Weight management tips.
Hey, everybody. In today's diet tip, I'd like to talk about journaling or logging a bit. Some of what I'm going to talk about really could apply to almost any type of journaling or logging, and I'd like to start with something that I first noticed in a research setting, which was a diet log when we're looking at someone's nutritional intake and we're trying to control for that while we manipulate something else. Oftentimes in those sorts of logs, you'll see the food name and the amount, so we could do a nutrition analysis. Sometimes you'll see a food frequency questionnaire where they'll try to break down different food groups, grains and starches, vegetables, fruits, dairy, protein foods, that kind of thing. But usually it's a category or a name and the amount. But when you're doing this yourself and you're trying to diet for the long haul or even do a target date diet, oftentimes people don't include things like time, place, mood, other people present, comments that you might have beyond that. When I work with clients, or when I have in the past, that's the kind of thing I do in a daily food diary, more of a diary really. Yes, the food name and the amount, but also when you ate it, where, with whom, your mood, and all of this is so you can think like a scientist and sort of objectively observe on the piece of paper in front of you other things that might be at work. Like, for example, if the food item, and I've joked about this before, is half a box of Lucky Charms or half a box of Ho-Hos, then you might get some tips or some hints when it comes to the time. Oh gosh, I'm always doing this in the evening, or I'm always doing this when my sister comes to visit. You get the idea. Or maybe when I'm feeling anxious and I eat carbs to, sort of nurse my anxiety in sort of a self-medicative way. Anyway, these other aspects of a daily food log or a daily food diary can be very helpful. So that's one piece of information that I would like to offer today. The other piece of information is about that comment column that you might include in a diet record or a diet diary. What I mean by comments, these are just some things that you could potentially do. One of them that I'm fond of, and I'll do this with journaling regardless of diet really, but I can also see it working with diet, is the minimalist to-do list. And that the important thing here is minimal. You don't want to make a huge list of things that you should be trying to accomplish today or this week. I actually don't do this every day. It might be better if I could get in that habit to do it early every morning. I tend to do this on a given day a week. For you, maybe it's Sunday. Maybe when you're doing your pre-prep and, pan searing or frying a bunch of chicken breast, baking a bunch of chicken for the week that you can put in your lunches. You can also sit down while you're doing some of that or right after and in advance prepare this minimal to-do list. Now, if you want to read more about this, I think this is well articulated. There's a website called becomingminimalist.com/to-do. And in this, Joshua Becker offers how he goes about this, and he admits that he actually got this from Melissa Kamara Wilkins, who first introduced him to this 3-item to-do list. When I say minimalist, I mean 3 items, that's enough. Now, Joshua puts forth this example. He says, my to-do list for today, and again, I would posit that you could do this for the week, at least to start. It depends on if you're a daily person. You have to do it every day or it won't stick, or if it's a weekly thing. My to-do list for today, he says, consists of these 3 things. Write a blog post for Becoming Minimalist. That's his blog. Set an agenda for the next board of directors meeting. And 3, put final touches on an article pitch for a major publication. That's it. 3 items. They're all significant, they're all important, and all manageable. Now, he goes on to point out almost certainly there are other work-related things that he will have to do that day. Post to Facebook, answer email, text a peer about something. But by limiting it to 3, you're distilling only the important things that you need to do. That's why I like this stuff. So minimally, you might say, okay, it's a Sunday. Minimally, I'm going to do my pre-prep and bake up some chicken, right? Or pan fry up some chicken. It might be something more behavioral, like I'm going to make sure that I minimally take protein shakes to the gym every week, so I could sip some before, maybe even during and after my session. Or when I go out to eat this week, I'm going to eat an apple about an hour before I go to the buffet. You might even want to make a list ahead of time of maybe a dozen different things that you could choose from on this 3-item list. This blogger that I was talking about at becomingminimalist.com, he actually says it helps keep him focused on the most important tasks. Obviously, there's other eating and nutrition-related stuff to be done throughout the week, but what's the most important for you? Maybe it's not skipping breakfast. It could be almost anything, but what's the most important? No more than 3. He said he's found other benefits as well. The short list keeps him from feeling overwhelmed. It helps him not to procrastinate because there's just this very narrow target of 3 things that need to be done. The finish line is always in sight. So there is one, the minimal to-do list as part of your diet records or diet logs. The other is something I occasionally do, although admittedly not enough, that I call victories or little victories. I think this is really important to create positivity and keep you moving forward. If you want a professional's view of this, I am not a psych professional. Psychology Today, there's an article by Stephanie Sarkis, PhD, Discover 8 Journaling Techniques for Better Mental Health. You can go check that out if you want. That's from January 2020. But what I thought was relevant to what I do with my little victory log is she calls what is going well journaling. In this style of journaling, she says you note what's gone well during the day or during the week if you want to do this once per week. It depends on your memory and, again, your style. This could be done with bullet points or paragraphs. She says we tend to focus on the negative, what doesn't go well, so changing your focus can result in feeling less burdened. When you realize how much things have worked in your favor, right, during the day or during that week, the not-so-great things tend to pale in comparison. Now, she does point out this is different from gratitude journaling. Gratitude journaling tends to focus on things that already exist, what you're thankful for. Going well journaling, and again, I like to call them victories, little victories, are things that might fit your style, and they remind you, hey, I did pre-prep all that chicken on Sunday and then eat it throughout the week. We know that solid protein foods like chicken breasts are high satiety value. They add protein to preserve muscle tissue when you're running around and maybe not eating enough calorie-wise, even if it's intentionally. Maybe it is that apple before you go to the buffet or any number of things. A contingency plan for when someone comes around who you know wrecks your diet. And sometimes it's even your kids, right? They can be little enablers because, you're buying the half a gallon of ice cream and it's for them. So maybe your victory is, listen, I bought little single-serve ice creams on a stick of some kind, or ice cream sandwiches or something, so I'm not going to sit down and wipe out the half a gallon. If you listen to ironradio.org, you can tell some of the things that I struggle with over the years, stuff like Lucky Charms ice cream. Actually, not Ho-Ho's so much. I don't know where that came from. But just like the minimal to-do list, these victories that you would put in the comments column of your, let's say, advanced diet log or advanced diet diary, these are the kinds of things, they're very personalized, and you really need to come up with, maybe even by brainstorming, like I said, in advance. This stuff is also very possible, quite possible to do outside of any type of diet log or diet journal. Maybe you make it a little note in your training log if you exercise regularly, or just part of a general journaling kind of activity. I just love the idea of thinking like a scientist so you can look at things objectively and not have this sort of subconscious thing just running wild on you and things sort of catastrophize and build up on you and that sort of thing. If you have your own ideas about what might go here or any comments about these diet tips, feel free to leave a comment. You can find us on YouTube. It's just a little backup, but it's Lawnman07. You can find nutritionradio.org that way. And you can leave a review on iTunes if you would. And that just helps us a lot in general. So thanks for your attention, and we'll see you next time.
The nutritionradio.org podcast is for informational purposes only. If you're interested in starting a diet or exercise program, check with your physician, nutritionist, or qualified exercise physiologist in order to make the progress that you need.